This video will demonstrate the IntelliDocs Review Bin, a temporary holding area for digital documents and scanned images. In this video, we'll focus on the Review Bin as it's used by providers, including physicians, physician assistants, nurse practitioners, and any other users who need to approve items before they're permanently filed in patients' charts. To see the contents of your Review Bin, click the Review button on the IntelliDocs toolbar. And here's a tip for power users. If you have a previewer who normally looks over these items in advance, to fix the descriptions on items and maybe to approve routine items for you, those items won't normally appear when you click the Review button. If you want to see not only items in your own Review Bin, but also the items currently assigned to your previewer, right-click the Review button. See the difference? By right-clicking, we're seeing 3 additional items that are currently in your previewer's bin. Once you're in the Review Bin, you'll see a list of items waiting for your review. Initially, the list is sorted by date, with the oldest items at the top of the list. The list includes a column that tells you whether each item is a scanned image or a Word document, the date of service, the letter of the category in which the item is filed, the complete list of categories is shown over here at the right side of the screen, the patient's name, a brief description of the item, a column to show colored flag icons that can be used to draw attention to special items, checkboxes that show which IntelliDocs users have been selected to review each item, the doctor, the nurse, the poster, and/or the insurance staff, an urgent column that will be colored red for urgent items or blue for items currently assigned to your previewers, the review status that shows which IntelliDocs user is currently reviewing the item, the previewer, the doctor, the nurse, etc., and the specialty associated with the item, if your practice uses specialty labels. If you want to sort the list of items by some value other than the date, just click on a column header. For example, you can sort the list by patient names by clicking on the word patient at the top of that column. If you wanted to sort items by their descriptions, for example, to group together all lab results, you could click the word description. You can open any item on the list by double-clicking it. IntelliDocs will display the item with a scroll bar at the right side of the window, so you can move up and down as you would on a web page. The buttons at the right help you view items more easily by zooming in or out. If you're viewing a scanned image, you can rotate it left or right, flip it vertically, or use the D-Skew button to straighten up the image if it was scanned in crooked. To get more information about what these buttons do, just hold your mouse pointer over a button for a moment to see a tooltip. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see a lot of buttons that allow you to modify this item in various ways, and ultimately to approve it so it can be sent to the patient's chart, and possibly followed up on by other staff members. For example, your nurse might need to contact patients about their test results. Which buttons will be shown at the bottom of the screen will depend on whether you're viewing an image or a document. We'll go into more detail about the buttons in just a moment. Let's close this image and return to the list of items in your Review Bin by clicking the X at the bottom left corner of the window. Unless you're looking for a specific item in your Review Bin, you'll probably want to go through the items one by one, perhaps adding comments to some items, fixing descriptions or categories, or making other changes as needed, then approving the items so they can move on to the next staff member who needs to deal with them. To view the contents of your Review Bin in an orderly way, click the item you want to start with, such as the first item on the list, then click the Auto button near the bottom right corner of the window. The selected item will be displayed. Down here near the bottom left corner, IntelliDocs shows you the name of the category in which this item is currently filed, the date of service, the patient's name, and the description that's been assigned to the item. If that all looks good and you don't need to add any comments or mark the item as urgent, you're ready to approve the item. You do that by clicking the first button to the right of the X. That button's name can change, depending on which staff member will see this item next in their own Review Bin. For example, lab results that have been approved by the provider are often sent to the nurse's Review Bin next, so the nurse can let the patient know their test results. So in this case, the button is marked Nurse. We'll click this button to tell IntelliDocs to move this report to the patient's chart and to send a copy to the nurse's Review Bin for follow-up. Since we're in auto mode, the next item in your review bin will automatically be opened for you after you click the Approve button. If you don't want to approve an item just yet, you can click the Defer button instead. That leaves the item in your review bin for now and brings up the next item. Another option is the Return to Previewer button, which sends this item back to your previewer's review bin. Here's one that's marked Doctor. That means we're looking at an item that was sent to your previewer. If you click the Doctor button to approve this item, it will be moved out of both your review bin and your previewer's. We can see from these checkboxes over here that this item will go next to the nurse, which is a typical setting for lab results. I'll click Defer to leave this item in the review bin for now. Here's an item that doesn't need to move on to anybody else, so its button is simply labeled Approve. If it did need to be reviewed by a staff member after you approve it and send it to the patient's chart, you could click one or more of the Nurse, Poster, or Insurance buttons or checkboxes. Note that the name of the Approve button changes depending on who you've selected to review the item next. If the item doesn't need to go to anybody else, you can uncheck the boxes. In addition to the Approve, Defer, and Return to Previewer buttons, you can move back and forth between items using these left and right arrow buttons. To close the item you're viewing, you can either click the X at the bottom left corner or the End Auto button at the bottom right. The list of items in your review bin will reappear, and you can see which items you've approved. To actually move these approved items from your review bin and out to the patient's charts, be sure to click the Process Approvals button at the bottom left corner. This automatically closes your review bin. Now that we've discussed the basic workflow of the review bin, let's go into some detail about other things you can do in the review bin, like adding comments or making changes to review bin items. Click Review to open your review bin again, or right-click Review if you want the list to include preview items. I'm going to double-click on a specific item I want to view, which happens to be an image. When you're viewing an image, you'll see a Note button below the image. Clicking that Note button allows you to draw right on the image, or to add some text to it. This video won't cover everything you can do with the Note button, but we'll point out that after you click the Note button, you can select a line width and draw on the image using your mouse pointer or stylus if you're on a tablet PC. If your scanned signature has been stored in IntelliDocs, you can click the Sign button, then draw a box on the image where your signature will be inserted. To insert typed text into the image, click the AA button, draw a box where you want the text to appear, then start typing. Click the X at the bottom left corner of this text box when you're through typing. If you make a mistake, you can click Undo to undo the last several changes you made. Click the Save button to save whatever changes you made to the image, or click the X button to close the image and throw away all your changes, which is what I'll do. Another button you'll see only when viewing images in your review bin is the QSend or Quick Send button. Quick Send lets you send an iMail message to another IntelliDocs user with this image attached to it. Just select the recipient, type any message you want to add, and click the Send button. The other button that's unique to images is the Task button. It's often used when viewing lab results or reports of other diagnostic studies to connect an IntelliDocs task with the image you're viewing. For example, if you're looking at a lab report, you can click the Tasks button to see if a task exists for this test. Note that you can still scroll up and down in the image while viewing the list of tasks, or you can click these up and down arrow buttons to move the task list up and down. If there is a task that matches this image, you can click in the Receive column to indicate that the results have been received, then click in the Normal or Abnormal column. The Notify or Special Notify settings will usually be completed by the nurse who notifies the patients of the results. When you're done, click the Process button to save your changes. If this image is assigned to a previewer, you may need to click the Doctor button to mark it as approved. Otherwise, IntelliDocs will automatically mark it as approved for you. Now let's find a document so we can discuss the other buttons shown on review bin items, including those that are specific to documents. Please note that in this demo, we're showing documents using a simple text viewer program. If your IntelliDocs preferences are configured to open documents directly in Microsoft Word, which is a bit slower, your screen will look a little different. Both images and documents have a print button, which sends the item to your default printer. The memo button can be used to attach comments to both images and documents, but those comments will appear only in IntelliDocs. No changes will be made to the image or document itself. To add a memo to a review bin item, click the Memo button. The box that pops up at the bottom right corner of the screen will show any memos that were previously created, and you can add your own by clicking the Add button, typing your comment, then clicking Save. Anyone who views this item from now on will see your comment. Click the Close button to close the memo box. Digital documents will have Forward and Return buttons when they're in your review bin. Use the Forward button if you need to add your electronic signature to the document, then send it to another provider for final approval. If the document needs to be returned to the transcriptionist for changes before you approve it, click the Return button. Both images and documents can be transferred to another provider if they were sent to you in error. To transfer a review bin item, click the Transfer button, click the name of the doctor who the item really belongs to, then click the Select button. The Delete button does just what you'd expect. If you confirm your decision, IntelliDocs will delete this item from your review bin, and it won't appear in the patient's chart. Depending on your IntelliDocs settings, you may see a Word button here to open the document in Microsoft Word so you can make changes to it. If you've got IntelliDocs configured to open all review bin documents in Word automatically, you'll instead see a Sign button as soon as you view the document in the review bin. Either way, once the document is open in Word, you can edit it just as you would any Word document. If your scanned signature has been stored in IntelliDocs, you can add it to the document by clicking where you want your signature to appear, then clicking the Sign button. After making any changes to a Word document, be sure to save the document by clicking the Save icon or by clicking File, Save, then close Microsoft Word. The Edit button is used to make changes to the way that an item is filed in IntelliDocs. You can use the Edit button to change the patient, category, date of service, provider, specialty, or description associated with the item. Again, we won't go into a lot of detail in this video, but here's an example of an image that was filed under the wrong patient's name, and we can use the Edit button to fix this. If your practice has some flag icons that are used to draw attention to certain items, you can click the Flag button to choose one of those flags, or no flag. And there's an Urgent button that will cause the Urgent column in the review bin to be colored red for this item. To turn off the Urgent setting, just open the item again and right-click the Urgent button. If your practice uses BusyNet's email or fax servers, you can use the Email or Fax button to send this item to someone outside your practice. The contact list will be displayed so you can select the recipient. Then you'll see a form that you can use to add additional information if needed. Click the Complete button to send the item or the X button to cancel the email or fax. Let's close this item and discuss a few of the buttons at the bottom of the review bin list. Most of them are intended for staff members who may need to view items assigned to multiple providers, and some of them, like the Memo and Edit buttons, work the same way here as they do when you're actually viewing an image or document. You may occasionally want to use the Multiselect button to approve items without having to open them first. For example, if you viewed an item earlier but deferred it then. To use Multiselect, click the button and note that its name changes to Approve All Selected. Click the item or items you want to approve. They'll be highlighted in green. Then click Approve All Selected. As always, be sure to click the Process Approvals button before you close your review bin, so the approved items will be sent to patients' charts and forwarded to the review bins of staff members who need to follow up on the items. If you have any questions or problems, please send us email at support@busynet.com or give us a call at area code 918-858-4440 Voicemail option number 2.